Welcome back, Commander.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledge.
Once again, we find ourselves in Africa, and judging by the briefing, it seems that these missions are tied to each other. Although I don't think it's very smart to nuke a base that has our POWs in it. Granted, maybe we're supposed to save the base, or save them first. Regardless, there's a very good reason why you shouldn't bother building right at the start where you spawn. And, I mean, it's the best reason you can possibly come up with, and that's that Tiberian fields are kind of garbage there.
Yes, sir.
Although, to be fair, there's kind of just garbage Tiberian fields everywhere.
Yes, sir.
But at least if you're in the area near the bridge, you're at least close to 3, rather than just being close to 1 and having a really awkward canyon to drive around. I guess that's more of the ridgeline specifically, but whatever. The good old days when units didn't automatically move out of the way for a building to build itself. And then you had to move the MCV to allow it to rebuild. So yeah, there's a tiny Tiberian field to the right. It's not very useful. Like, the more I look at it, the more I remember that, oh, there's no blossom tree. And it's not like I destroyed a large portion, like driving vehicles through it or anything. It's really just a small field. I guess maybe we were just spoiled from other expansion levels when they just gave us like everything we could ever want. Still, at least you're given enough starting funds so that you can build several refineries and not really have to worry about it until later. Oh, and there's a construction yard there? I'm not quite sure I understand why there's just some random construction yard here. As always, I check the team types and triggers after I play, and usually after I record this commentary. So I don't know if there's any plans for the AI to maybe build like a war factory or a barracks off to the side and then kind of flood you with engineers after a set time. It seems like a kind of jerk move that I would program into my levels, but yeah, I don't think that's the case. Still, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm now able to produce anything I want when it comes to GDI units. Minus a couple exceptions, which sucks. Namely, you can't get an advanced comm center. So, you can't get the ion cannon, which would have been funny, just seeing the ion cannon used by two sides in the same mission. Now, the AI will generally send like 2 or 3 different groups against your base. The first will be a group of medium tanks. They're usually accompanied by like a MRLS or some sort of artillery unit. There's oftentimes a solitary engineer that will make a run towards your base for whatever reason. All you need is like 1 guard tower and you're pretty much okay. And once in a while you'll see like a mammoth tank or something else along those lines. Oh, and it seems that the GDI want to kill unarmed prisoners? Let's just pretend they're unarmed. Forget all the flamethrower stuff you saw earlier. I just think it's more examples of war crimes by GDI. Not that I'm biased or anything. Now, although GDI does get an ion cannon, which kind of makes, it can invalidate turrets, so to speak. As long as you have like 3 or 4 in a group, generally a line suffices. You're kind of okay for defense on the right side. Left side, like a guard tower, maybe a turret or 2, and you're fine. The only thing that tends to happen is that, like with most missions, after you've gotten that initial build period through, and you've gotten all the tech that you want, you sometimes find yourself low on funds. Yeah, turrets are kind of bad against infantry, especially when they crouch and they're like inherently inaccurate. I really wish there was a hotkey for selling stuff. It gets to be a little hard when you constantly have to like go up into the top left top right of the screen to actually do something.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, knowledge. Unit report. Knowledge.
Lost. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Moving out.
Construction complete. New construction options. Building.
As nice as it is to have both tech trees, I feel like the size or just the layout of this map, and some maps like most maps in particular, don't really allow you to ever take advantage of like a large built base, kind of like the ones you see by the AI, where it's more or less unrealistic just because there's actual distance between buildings and it's more spaced out.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Moving out. Yes, sir. Moving out. Yes, sir. Moving out.
Construction complete. Building.
I also keep making the same mistake over and over, which is that I keep building a turret closer than another, which just means that in certain cases, you'll see that the one turret ends up shooting and then the other cannot, just because of the target distances. So again, like, try to build in a straight line if you ever happen to play this game. Now, I did have a plan where I would like try to sneak in a stealth tank, but it always seemed like infantry or some other issue was just close enough to prevent me from ever actually being able to do anything. Later on, I actually tried to take a stealth tank, the same one that we saw earlier, and try to like have it destroy a building or two sneakily, like from above the ridge. But although it has the range, it doesn't have the damage. And there's kind of another issue on the map as well, which we'll see soon enough. It took me a while to figure out that the second construction yard, yeah, there's two. And maybe that's like the thing, is that if you don't happen to build on the right side, you wouldn't see the second construction yard. So it would just like keep preparing stuff and the player would ask themselves how that's going on. Anyways, once I finally did realize it, nuke it and you're pretty much good to go. Then it's back to the tried and true, as soon as you destroy a building, it never gets replaced. So, while it's a little bit of a slower grind, it's at least, something that works. Oh, and this is why it's really hard to get a stealth tank to actually do a bunch of work without having like either nuking everything or rushing the base with 4 mammoth tanks so that you can destroy them all. And it's that the stealth tank just doesn't kill stuff fast enough. Even if he had like 3 or 4, hoping that they could all get in range, it just wouldn't be good enough.
Unit lost.
Granted, you could always do the more boring, like attack once, shuffle backwards, wait till you cloak, and then repeat that like a dozen times, but still. It really doesn't help that the AI has like extra funds for which it can repair with. Oh, and since there's not much in way of defenses for the left portion, I may as well try to capture buildings.
Building.
Like, if I already have all the tech for mammoth tanks and other vehicles and units, then why not just capture some production so I can pump out mammoth tanks up here rather than have them drive from all the way down there? Man, I really can't wait for Red Alert when this stuff happens to be automatic rather than micromanaged.
Moving out. Yes, sir. Yes, moving out. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Waiting orders. Yes, sir. Waiting orders. Affirmative.
Primary building selected.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Vehicle reporting.
And you might be thinking, like, oh, well, I'm taking out this, like, laboratory / tech center and whatever else you want to call it. Cool, except doing damage to the power plants seems to be, like, the tech center building seems to have less armor or health and is more susceptible to the stealth tank, whereas power plant, especially the advanced power plant, doesn't seem to have that same vulnerability.
Unit, yes, sir. Acknowledge. Moving out. Moving out. Unit, affirmative. Unit, acknowledge. Moving out. Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Moving out. Moving out. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Affirmative.
I kind of get screwed over here, and I really should have moved in the mammoth tanks,
Yes, sir. Roger. Vehicle reporting.
but I lose both my engineers, and I was kind of pissed about it.
Building. Building.
Yes, unit.
Now, one would have certainly been due to the 2 Humvees, but I forgot to notice, like, somehow it just evaded my eyes. The commando's just sitting right there. And, of course, the AI is going to take advantage of that range.
Vehicle reporting. Unit reporting.
Building.
Unit reporting. Yes, sir.
But at least we can see most of the map. So, you can kind of see what I mean by how the available Tiberium to us is, like, low. It's not really a giant pool or anything.
Unit
Yes, sir.
ready. Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Moving out.
I think the biggest patch, or at least like the most
Acknowledged.
well-sustained one so far, is the one on the top left.
Yes, sir.
Although, to be fair to that one, the AI harvests from that location and the other 2 near it, so...
On
Yes, sir.
hold.
Moving out.
Unit lost.
Waiting
Unit
order.
lost.
Acknowledged. Waiting.
Unit
Affirmative.
lost.
Moving out. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Yes, affirmative.
Unit
Moving out.
lost.
Moving out.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Moving out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Moving out. Affirmative. Unit moving out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Unit moving out.
Unit
Affirmative.
lost.
Moving out. Moving out. Report right away, sir. You got
GDI building.
You know, I was really worried I wouldn't get that.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Vehicle reporting. Yes, sir. Yes, moving out. Moving out. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Building. Unit ready.
Yes, sir. You
They
got
are
it.
enemies to be feared.
Yes, sir. Moving out. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Waiting.
Unfortunately for me, I kind of do this the long way. I should have just destroyed that barracks. Like, I don't know why I'm so hell-bent on keeping the APC, driving it all the way to the bottom, and then, you know, pulling these shenanigans.
Waiting. Yes, sir.
Just blow up the barracks, build up the second one,
Yes, moving out.
voila.
Yes, sir. Moving out. Acknowledged. Vehicle report. Unit
Construction
reporting.
complete.
Unit reporting. Unit
Building.
Well, on the flip side, I did need to actually build more mammoth tanks, so
Yes, sir. Moving out. Moving out. Moving out. Moving out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Yes, acknowledge. Unit report. Acknowledge. Moving out.
I'm actually very surprised that the AI never had any sort of inkling to send its engineer to do something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It just always chose to just have it sit there and wait for like a timer or something.
Yes, sir. Moving out. Acknowledge.
I guess that's just like how
Acknowledge.
basic
Waiting. Yes,
the game is, like the AI is.
yes, sir. Vehicle affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes,
Like, I know I'm saying that about an AI that can't traverse like sandbags and think of how to get around them, but still.
unit acknowledged. Waiting order.
Oh, also, this is like the best positioning you can ever do, because the advanced guard tower, like, 1 out of every 2 shots kind of hits the path that the infantry takes when it gets out of the barracks.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Waiting order.
So I kind of basically just had it shooting itself for a while.
Moving out. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Moving out. Yes, Roger.
GDI building.
Unit
Action.
acknowledged. Vehicle reporting. Moving out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we can see the stealth tank. There'd probably be space for maybe 2
Building.
or 3 total to shoot that one power plant, and I mean, I'm not really making a dent. I know I'm going to be clicking on it at some point, but
Waiting order. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Waiting order. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
like, I haven't even put it in the yellow yet.
Moving out. Acknowledged. Unit report. Yes, sir. Yes, acknowledged. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, acknowledged. Acknowledged.
I was tempted to build a couple helipads, but honestly, there's no real point. Yeah, see, look at that. It's still full health.
Unit moving out. Acknowledged. Unit. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Moving out. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Unit. Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's not much point to helicopters or Orca or otherwise for this mission. Like, there's enough advanced guard towers that it'll just be, you know, they'll just harass you. And there's plenty of rocket soldiers on the ground, so
Our base is under attack.
oh, and somehow I lost the war factory. I can only imagine that the AI used an ion cannon,
Yes, sir.
but it should need 2 for war factory. So I guess maybe it was just like that time for it to actually use its ion cannon, and then maybe by attacking the center itself, it then like redeployed one. I don't know. Either way, it's not a big issue.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, moving out. Acknowledged. Waiting orders. Moving out. Moving out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, sir. Right. Affirmative. Yes,
Construction
sir. Yes,
complete.
sir. Unit report acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Mission accomplished.